It's a shrine and battlefield, circus and proving ground, carnival and contest. It's a race driver's racetrack. Not the fastest, not the largest, but the toughest. It is Darlington, home of the Southern 500. It begins like a circus. The wildly painted performers arrive long before the crowd. The equipment is readied, the acts rehearsed. Practice here is as dangerous as a high wire act or being shot from a cannon. If you need the net, you shouldn't be here in the first place. Pete Hamilton's a driver who's won more than $100,000 this year. He's a cool professional who knows racetracks. But this track is special. The fast way around is up near the wall, and Hamilton gets too close. The car can be repaired in an hour or two, but a man's confidence can be shaken for days. Some top drivers hate to run here. No other track challenges a man as much as this one. They practice until it's time to qualify. Each car will now run 2 laps alone on the track. The average speed determines starting position in the race. First car on the qualifying line is driven by Fred Lorenzen, back in a race car after a 3-year retirement. Now the circus becomes a contest. Man and machine against the clock. Lorenzen qualifies at 145 miles an hour. Next on the starting line, David Pearson, the current national champion. Pearson's first lap, 150 miles an hour. The crowd cheers, although the difference between Lorenzen and Pearson is only 1 1/4 seconds per lap. That, too, is part of racing. The unbelievable precision, the unrelenting pressure that makes the hand unsure and the mouth dry. Every driver is faced with this problem. How close can I come to my best speed and keep control? Because they are professionals, because they race to live and live to race, they swallow their fears and earn a starting position. Yet, there is always one who oversteps the invisible line. The Southern 500 is a carnival. Darlington's biggest party from one year to the next. This is a quiet town of farms and stores, but on this special weekend before Labor Day, everything changes. It's a day to put on funny clothes and laugh at one another. a circus, a Wild West show, a rodeo, all rolled into one. The carnival continues and becomes a battlefield where smiles are weapons. Before 1,000 cheering fans, beauty queens from every corner of the Carolinas compete for the title of Miss Southern 500. Two years ago, the winner here became runner-up to Miss USA. Last year, Miss Southern 500 also won the title of Miss South Carolina World. Victory here can be a stepping stone to fame beyond their dreams. The winner, Miss Nancy Mitchum of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. She receives her crown from Susan Gordon, outgoing queen. Nancy, an artist, dancer, and model, is only 18 years old and new to beauty pageant competition. She says again and again, "I can't believe it." In the morning, the carnival is gone. The battlefield remains. 40 cars wait on the starting line, and 69,000 fans have come to see them run. This is the 21st Southern 500. Stock car racing comes of age with this race. Near their cars are some of the best drivers in the world. Fred Lorenzen, racing again after a 3-year retirement, drives a Ford set up by mechanic Junior Johnson. Cale Yarborough, winner of the Southern 500 in 1968. Richard Petty, more than 100 stock car victories. He drives a Plymouth. Buddy Baker, on the right, the son of 3-time Darlington winner Buck Baker. With him is Bobby Allison, both driving Dodges. Donnie Allison, Bobby's brother, at the wheel of a Ford. Bobby Isaac, a front runner in almost any race, drives a Dodge. Dave Pearson, fastest qualifier for this race, in a Ford.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
The engines and the crowd come alive together. Now 40 drivers begin their fight for a part of the $137,000 purse and for the glory of winning this race. Only 2 former winners are in this starting field, Richard Petty and Cale Yarborough. The pace lap begins, a slow lap to warm the engines and give the drivers a chance to settle down. The fastest cars are special competition models, sleek Ford Talladegas, high-wing Dodge Daytonas, Plymouth Superbirds. At 150 miles an hour, aerodynamics affects both speed and handling. Most of the engines are 429 cubic inches, the limit set by the rules of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, known as Nascar. Horsepower is each team's secret, but it's upwards of 600. Some of the front runners check the steering, at the same time warm the tires. The cars get a better bite on the track surface when the tires are hot. Off the third turn, heading for the fourth, and the green flag that waits on the front stretch. It's Pearson in 17, Baker in 6. 40 drivers tense themselves for the first of 367 laps. The pace car is off the track. There's the green flag, and they're racing. David Pearson's Ford in the lead as they dive for the first turn. Buddy Baker's Dodge right behind him. It's a smooth start. On the backstretch, Pearson's foot gets heavier. The engines begin to shriek. End of lap 1. Pearson, Baker, Bobby Allison, and Bobby Isaac. Isaac's trying to move up. Isaac passes Bobby Allison for 3rd spot. Donnie Allison is 5th, closing in behind his brother. Speed for the first lap, 145 miles an hour. The leaders pace themselves, waiting for time and hard running to cut down the competition. The leaders establish their positions. Behind Pearson and Baker are Isaac, Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison. In 6th spot, Cale Yarborough, and right behind him, Charlie Glotzback. The crowd settles down to enjoy the blur of speed and the music of the engines. Many fans have traveled hundreds of miles to see their favorites. Suddenly, Benny Parsons bashes the wall in the first turn. As Parson limps around, the caution signal slows all the traffic. The leaders use the slow caution laps to pit for fuel and new tires. Pearson, Baker, and most of the front runners are in. A 500-mile race is often a group of short races separated by caution flags. Most drivers will stop whenever there's an accident. A well-trained crew can refuel and change 2 tires before the rest of the field makes a full lap. After the pit stop, a car can get back into the race and join up right behind the rest of the field. A driver will lose a few positions, but not a whole lap. And that's the important part of the strategy. Baker is refueled and out again. Pearson, delayed slightly by a tire change, is ready to go a few seconds later. One more caution lap before the green. The track is clear. The new leader will be number 27 Ford, Donnie Allison. Cale Yarborough's number 21 Mercury is right behind him. The green flag is out, and Donnie Allison floors the throttle. Allison's first, Yarborough second. Baker and Isaac are 3rd and 4th. Pearson has dropped back, but he's still a threat. It's a brand new race with half a dozen strong cars in the same lap, running almost 150 miles an hour. Dave Pearson, in 5th position, has Richard Brooks right on his bumper. Brooks, an independent, is trying to match speed with the factory-supported heavyweights. Brooks was Rookie of the Year last season. He's a charger who can run up front as long as his car holds together. Because he hasn't won any big purses, he can't take chances with his equipment. If something fails, he'll go home broke. Brooks can only hope that a factory team or a sponsor is impressed by this kind of driving. The Petty team, Pete Hamilton in number 40, Richard Petty in number 43, are running 8th and 9th. Cale Yarborough in number 21 is closed in behind Donnie Allison's front-running Ford. Yarborough's running laps in 32.9 seconds, more than 150 miles an hour. Cale's Mercury leads the race. Allison's not convinced. On the backstretch, Donnie challenges, but Cale holds him off. Buddy Baker's in 3rd spot, right behind the leaders. Fred Lorenzen loops down the backstretch. Only great driving and a miracle keeps him between the fences and out of the way of other cars. Again, the yellow flag slows the field as the track is inspected. And again, the leaders drop out of the race to refuel. Time spent in the pits counts. There are no timeouts in a stock car race. Bobby Allison, one of the top contenders for the national championship, is refueled. Bobby has been running in the top 10 since the race began. Richard Petty's engine has been overheating. His crew tries to cool it. Pete Hamilton is in the pits. Neither Petty team car has been able to challenge for the lead. When the green flag waves, Donnie Allison has a slim lead over Cale Yarborough. Allison is running hard, remembering that Yarborough's Mercury passed him once before. The drivers make 4 left turns every 33 seconds. The leaders must squeeze past slower traffic while fighting off challengers riding their rear fenders. Throughout each lap, they are never more than a yard or two away from the wall. Donnie Allison slides into the wall in the first turn. Cale Yarborough gets by, taking the lead. Dave Pearson also moves past Allison. Allison seems to be all right. Scraping the wall slowed him down, but did not put him out of the race. Pearson's crew hopes their man can now catch Yarborough. Fred Lorenzen's car is behind the pit wall and probably through for the day. If a car's that worn on the outside, it's a good bet the running gear has taken a beating as well. A few years ago, when speeds were 130 miles an hour, Lorenzen owned this track, but now he must run 145 or better. Lorenzen, one of racing's greatest drivers with 26 Grand National victories, finds the comeback trail an uphill climb. Dave Pearson's out of control. The national champion brings 2 tons of automobile to a stop 2 yards from the guardrail. The tires are flat-spotted, but after a pit stop, he'll be chasing the leaders again. Again, the leaders pit. Cale Yarborough, winner of this race in 1968, has one of the finest pit crews in racing, the Wood brothers of Stewart, Virginia. Donnie Allison, the second-place car, is also in the pits. In less than half a minute, Yarborough's crew fills the 22-gallon tank, changes tires, and wipes the windshield. Cale Yarborough's away first. Earlier, Cale proved he could pass Donnie Allison. Now Allison again finds himself behind Yarborough. It'll be a tough day's work to catch him. Donnie's brother, Bobby Allison, pits after a collision that has slowed his car and kept him from challenging for the lead. The driver feels something's wrong with the chassis, but the mechanics think the car's all right. There's no time to argue and only one way to find out. Drive it. There's the green flag. Cale Yarborough, Mercury number 21, in the lead. Buddy Baker, Dodge, number 6, close behind in second place. Baker's been trying for the lead ever since he trailed Pearson in the first lap. Baker is a fearless, hard-charging competitor, ready to make his move. Baker tries the impossible. Sheet metal clangs against sheet metal as 2 champions battle, each one depending on the other like partners in a trapeze act. If one slips, both may fall. Running 150 miles an hour, Cale Yarborough fights off Baker. Baker waits for a chance to try again as the leaders cut through slower traffic. When Baker was asked where he'd like to pass on this track, he said, "Wherever your hair can stand it." But passing is a bit easier coming off the 4th turn. And in the 4th turn, Baker gathers himself for another attempt. He's passing. Baker's Dodge takes the lead. Yarborough drops to second, and right behind the 2 front runners, Bobby Isaac moves in, running 3rd. James Hilton slides through the 4th turn. Hilton is another independent driver with first-class ability, but without the money for first-class equipment. Hilton knows the only way to meet expenses in this game is to be running at the finish. He has 1 Grand National victory, but 14 second-place finishes. Who knows what he'd do with top equipment? Baker, pursued by Yarborough, is turning laps at record speed. Baker's high-wing Dodge Daytona seems to stick in the turns, while Yarborough's Mercury Cyclone appears to have slightly more horsepower on the straightaway. But these factors alone don't win races. When equipment is equal, look to the man who wants to win. A lap in 33.3 seconds means 148.5 miles an hour, but Yarborough can't do better than second place. As they reach the backstretch, Baker and Yarborough run up behind slow traffic, and Cale is forced to go low on the track. Yarborough's lost control. The fans scatter as Cale Yarborough steered away from the traffic toward the track apron. He's all right, getting out of the car. That was one of the wildest rides ever seen on this track. Let's try to understand how it happened. As Baker and Yarborough entered the backstretch, they found two slower cars ahead. Baker stayed up near the fence, but Yarborough dived low on the track to avoid the traffic. As he reached the end of the straightaway, Yarborough moved back into the traffic, getting ready for the third turn. Yarborough barely tapped the rear of Joe Frazen's car, but in doing so, started to slide. A quick loop, and suddenly he was heading for the fence, steering the car backwards at 100 miles an hour, trying to stay out of traffic. The car must be completely rebuilt to race again. Suddenly, a prime crew is out of it. Cale, uninjured, can ride the ambulance sitting up. It could have been worse. The green flag flies again, and Buddy Baker is the leader, at least for the moment. In second place, Donnie Allison's Ford, and right behind him, Bobby Isaac's Dodge. Baker's margin could be enough to win if he keeps it running. Allison is less than 15 seconds behind him and driving flat out. Baker's mechanic, Cotton Owens, a retired race driver, hopes that lightning won't strike. Baker has had hard luck throughout his driving career. Donnie Allison slams the wall in the first turn, a few inches from the spot he hit while leading Cale Yarborough earlier in the race. This time it's serious. That car is too badly damaged to run. With Allison disabled, Baker eases off the throttle of his Dodge. He has a full lap lead on Bobby Isaac, running in second spot, and Dave Pearson, who has roared back into fourth position. Also, a lap behind is Pete Hamilton in third place. Richard Petty, Hamilton's teammate, is fifth. Buddy has been close to victory on many tracks, yet hasn't won a race in 2 years. He's dreamed about winning the Southern 500 since his father, Buck Baker, won here in 1953, when Buddy was 12 years old. Buck repeated his Southern 500 victory in 1960, and again in 1964. At 51 years of age, Buck Baker is still competing in the Grand Touring Circuit. His son, Buddy, will have a long way to go before matching his father's record. Buddy sweats out the last few laps, with Bobby Isaac dogging his heels. Buddy's been this close before and seen victory snatched away. Cotton Owens waits. Each lap seems 30 minutes long, not 30 seconds. The white flag, one more lap. Bobby Isaac has moved closer, but there is an invisible gap of one full lap between the first and second place cars. There's no way for Isaac to win unless Baker throws it away. Half a lap now. Less than a mile to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Baker has been running here 9 years and never won. Buddy Baker takes the checkered flag to win the 21st Southern 500. For Cotton Owens and the crew, it's a dream fulfilled. Earlier this week, Owens had been elected to Stock Car Racing's Hall of Fame. The victory was solid. No less than 1 lap ahead of everybody, and 5 laps ahead of Richard Petty, the 5th place car. Baker's average speed of 129 miles an hour for the full 500 miles was half a mile an hour short of a new record. As Baker and his crew wheeled to Victory Lane, a new bit of history is written on stock car racing's most historic track. For the first time, a race driver's son wins the same race on the same track as his father did before him. Buddy is the happiest man in South Carolina as Darlington President Barney Wallace congratulates him. Baker said, "Ever since I was a little kid, I've been told that a race driver isn't a race driver until he's won Darlington. I haven't got words to say how happy I am." Sharing Buddy's victory is his wife, Colleen, who was so nervous that she could barely score Buddy's last few laps. Buddy's victory is worth more than $27,000. With the winner in Victory Lane are his two sons, Brian, age 9, and Brandon, who is 5 years old. One day, perhaps in the 41st Southern 500, scheduled for Labor Day in 1990, there may be another man named Baker in Victory Lane. One thing is certain, there's going to be a lot more racing history written here in the Southern 500 at Darlington.